I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on the Global Book Network, we're diving into a wonderful book. It is called Split Ends. It is a powerful memoir meets self-help guide from master hairstylist and hairapist Sandi Donafee. With more than 40 years experience behind the chair, Sandi shares the twists and turns of her life, from childhood struggles to business triumphs, revealing how resilience, connection, and creativity shaped her journey. This isn't just a story about hair. It's a raw, inspiring reflection on overcoming life's curveballs and turning pain into purpose. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put Sandi on GBN today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by purchasing her wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Sandi, thank you so much for joining us here on GBN today.
Thank you, Logan. Thanks for having me.
Love the term hairapist. I guess in many ways, lots of stylists are hairapist because when I get into the barber chair or the stylist chair, it becomes like a confessional. You tell them everything, right?
Right. Yeah. Like a client sits down in the chair and then you just ask about their hair, then the next thing they tell you about everything else. Like
Exactly.
about, things that you are shocked and then some things you become family with these people. So
Exactly. Yeah, they're telling you about their divorces and their moves and their trips and the problems they're having with their kids. I guess it's kind of like being in that closed little box. And it's funny because other people are around you. There's other people in other chairs, but people are spouting off. It's part of the fun of getting your hair did, as we like to say. So
right.
did you come up with that term, hairapist?
No, I've seen the word hairapist before, but
Okay.
a lot of people say to me, they're like, it's like going to a therapist. It's like, when you go to talk to a hairdresser, you could tell them anything. And
Right.
it's like one of the jobs that people don't understand that we could touch people in many ways. Like we could touch people to their heart, to their hair, and make them feel good or make them, bring out things, from themselves and work through it like a therapist. But we don't get paid as a therapist, but it's really rewarding. So,
Yeah, you actually really bond with your stylist. I have to go too frequently, I'll tell you that. So I'm well aware of that. Um, Talk to us a little bit about your story, why you decided to share it, and what you hope readers can get from it.
so all my life, everybody always told me I should write a book because nobody could believe half the things I would tell them. People sit down in the chair, they tell me a story about themselves, and then I'll be like, "Oh, that reminds me of." Something. And then that's how I wrote my book. Like in my book, if you read it, you'll see it. It'll be like a client sitting in the chair and then they talk about their story. And then I'll be like, oh, that reminds me of and then whatever else comes next. And so I wanted to write this story so it'll help people because it really helped me. And so at the end of every single chapter, there's a part in there that you could write the answer to each one of the questions that are at the end of each chapter. So by the end of the book, you've written your own story. And I just think everyone has a story. Like nobody knows what you did when you were 5 years old, or 7 years old, or 10 years old, or 15, or whatever. Nobody knows what you felt or what you went through. It could be like, for me, it was a lot of grief. I went through a lot of grief and a lot of struggles like that. But with some people, they may have gone through abuse, or they could have had a very happy childhood, and then parts of their teenage years they had struggles. Who knows? But that's why I was like, I like it to be interactive where somebody could write their own story because I love to hear people's stories behind the chair. um I started this company like in 2020. It was called Life Talk Today, and it's because people just want to have someone listen to them. And behind the chair, I, as a therapist, could listen to them and they tell you their story. So it's just a listening service where it's not therapy. It's just people just want to talk and vent. And they don't want to have judgment or criticism or anything else. So, and that's what I do behind the chair. It's like I listen to people. I've heard stories about like, I don't care how my husband wants my hair, my boyfriend, that's all I care about. And I don't judge them. It's like, it's their life, their story. And you know, all different types of people make up the world. So for me, I'm just there to help them look better and feel better. and an ear to listen to. So as far as the book, you know, it like there's so many different things. I felt like I had different life stories. So like every chapter is a different life, and that's how a lot of people are, like having their own, version of their life. And I have book clubs that have talked about like asking me if they wouldn't mind if I would use it. There's this lady that goes to this one church and she said, "Hey, our church has a book club and we want to use your book." And I said, the only thing that in my book that I didn't put in there is like, I, after every single incident or thing in my life, God was there to rescue me. And he was always there, even when I was alone, even whenever I like lost my husband. It was like when I lost my mom, lost my husband, went through any single thing, I felt like I was I was okay because I wasn't alone. So, and
Well, faith is a big part of your story, no doubt. It sustained you during hard times. You mentioned that your childhood wasn't the best necessarily or was problematic at times. Talk to us a little bit about growing up and how it influenced the path you took as a hairstylist and a business owner.
so whenever I was like 5 years old, I got my hair done for a wedding and I felt so pretty. I felt like a princess. And our family was all together, my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, and we were at this wedding. And like I think page 3 there was like a picture of us on, in this wedding. But I just, at that moment, I was like, I want to make people feel pretty, and that's how I started as far as doing hair. And then, so that was 5, and by age 8 my father had died. So my mom, the kind of person she was, like when she went through her grief, she became silly and fun. It sounds crazy, but we had like the most fun when my dad died. It sounds really like bizarre, but my mom wanted to make sure we stayed happy as we could, and she tried to do what she could, to go through our grief. Like when my kids had their grief, I tried to get them in counseling and tried to do fun things. And I even did this vacation. It was a fear factor vacation. I'm like, everything we're afraid of, we're going to do. And, so everybody deals with things like in their own way. So, like I said, my mom made it fun. So my childhood wasn't horrible. It was just, there was obstacles. My dad had died and we had to figure out like what to do. My mom overspent money like to try to make us happy. And then it turned into my mom losing everything, and but we were never without love for my mother. And she was always, even whenever I was like not so nice to her and ran away from home and did different things that you'll see in the book, um, she was always there for us and she always showed us love. And that was like, it wasn't a horrible childhood. And the struggles when you don't have money and you grow up without money, you learn to work harder. And that's what I did in the story too. You'll see that I worked 4 jobs to get my first business. And, I didn't let the fact that we didn't have anything stop me from growing and getting somewhere.
Exactly. Sometimes adversity in your life does motivate you to become successful. You've been very successful. You've opened up multiple salons and worked with top brands like Matrix. What have those business experiences taught you about perseverance, taught you about life?
So I worked as educator. I worked at a company called Sorby. It was Trevor Sorby. I worked for him for like a short minute. It was like, but I learned a lot of things um, about like selling products and things like that, and hairstyling, and very disciplined hairstyling. Then I worked for Matrix, and they went through different levels of teaching for, color and cuts and perms and everything. And then also like presentation and sales and different things. But it also brought me together with like the hair family, the hair community, and I have like great friends and great relationships with them. And then I work with a company. It's a hair extension company, and I teach for them, and she hair extensions, and it's HTB Beauty. And these people have become like my extended family. I've been with them since 2004. And just they have the same philosophy as I do. It's like, do everything with love, and we care about people. It's about caring about people, and it's not about the money. It's like years ago, go try to get a job for the money. But I had somebody at Matrix tell me, they said, if you want to make a lot of money, and this probably isn't the job for you. And they said it's something that you have to love. And it's like the same thing. Whenever I was young, going to the salon with my mom, they would say, you don't want to get into hair because there's no money. And it's like, to me, it's like, it's not about the money, it's about the people and what you could do. And it's like the power behind stuff. Like, there was a girl came into the salon, and she was in a chemistry class fire, and her mom said that she went from model to monster. Could you do anything for her? And her hair was probably short as yours. And I took her from short as yours to long as mine. That girl, she glowed. Her eyes are green, and she glowed like beautiful. And that was $1 million for me. Fast forward 2 years, I didn't take any money from her. I said, no, wouldn't take any money from her. And in January of 2008, she gave me a card with a check in there, and I just ripped it up. I was like, I don't want it. I already got paid. I've been paid, just from the look and the feeling that she got. So then a month later, my husband was killed, and she gave me another check. And then my son was going to a private school, and somebody started a fund and put $15,000 in there, and also paid for the rest of his school. So it was like a big pay it forward. It was like,
Amazing.
she said she was awarded $14.5 million or something like that, and she wanted to make
Mm,
sure I had been taken care of. And
wow.
yeah,
That's
she's
very
amazing.
sweet, very kind, both of you. I mean, you were very kind not to take money from her, to do her hair and find the reward in just making her feel like
Yeah.
herself again. And then she was such a kind person to help
Yeah.
fund the education for your son. Uh, just amazing story. One of many amazing stories in this book. Before we leave you, let me ask you this. What do you hope readers take away from your book?
Um, well, the one part that I really wanted to get into with the book that I didn't say, my husband was a mail carrier, and he was hit and killed, and it's in the story. But when you read the story about that part, the guy who killed my husband, he was only 19 years old when it happened. He was on his way to college. He was in a hurry and weaving in and out of traffic, and he hit him, and he was killed instantly. And we went through like pre-trials and pre-trials. They weren't going to prosecute, and I took it, all the way as I could. And the guy who killed him, we ended up sitting face to face and talking, and it'll be in the book. It's in the book, so you could read about it. And we talked face to face. And after he told me his side of the story, I walked around the table and I hugged him, and I forgave him. I truly forgave him. I felt this peace, like overwhelming peace over me. And it's like, so in my book, it's a lot about grief. There's a lot about forgiveness, and there's a lot about growing and moving forward instead of being stuck, whether it's grief or anger or whatever is, troubling. But I'm just really hoping that this book will like help people with whatever challenges they're going through, because writing it down and getting it out there, you don't even, like, if somebody wants to write a book, they don't even have to put their name on it. They could just do this for themselves. Or, and what I was hoping to do one day is do Netflix and have like my story first and then everybody's story. Because people tell me after they read my book, they're like, we want to tell you about our story. And it's like, I would like to hear everybody's stories, because people's stories are interesting. It's, there's not one person that has come to me about this, and they don't have an interesting story. So my hope is that it goes further and not just stops at Split Ends one here, you know?
Exactly, exactly. I think it would be a terrific series for television, whether it's Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu or Paramount Plus, whatever it is. There's lots of
Right.
networks out there. They need good material. And your story is compelling. The backdrop of somebody telling you their story in a chair and then cutting to the actual events, I think is such a unique and compelling way to tell a story. I think it would be a dynamic and original series. So, Hollywood, if you're listening, here's a book that's ready to go. That's a great premise, no doubt. The name of the book
Yeah.
is Split Ends. It is a powerful memoir meets self-help guide from master hairstylist and hairapist Sandi Donafee, with more than 40 years behind the chair, listening to confessions, doing good deeds. Sandi shares the twists and turns of her life from childhood struggles to triumphs in business, showing how resilience, connection, and creativity have shaped her journey and just might shape your journey as well. Sandi, thank you so much for joining us here today on GBN.
Thank you so much.
Great speaking with you. I appreciate your insight. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford for the Global Book Network. So long for now.